Earl, looks like they're coming right along on the new fire department.
Yeah, they're making, they've had a little bit of luck with good weather. That material's great. Duane, if you ever need some fill, man, you need that stuff. That's some high quality fill material.
Talking to VA department. And I know.
You're gonna have a basement.
Where you putting that field?
Yes, the area that is next to the police station is being dug out now. That's the basement side. If you look now, those trucks are starting, the bed of the trucks are starting to be below grade when you're looking at it from the street. They're starting to be down in a hole. They're digging out. We did find, we found a cistern. That was really the only thing underground that we've not found any bad material. This the biggest thing is the cistern, and it sits. We've not heard back from the geotech yet on it, but it was sitting. The edge of the cistern was sitting just outside of the footer for the building, right in really the edge of the footer line. So I don't think we'll even have to do anything with it.
Nice. Where are you storing all the fill? Where are you putting it?
Well, the contractor, it belongs to him, and they are taking it to Stanford Road there at Michael's place, McAfee, which is actually
that worked out good for everybody.
it really did. It is enabling him because he was struggling with a lot of different material, and it really is great material for what he needed there, and it's cleaning his property up well.
All right, Bill, you give me the thumbs up, so we're gonna gavel in again, so we'll call this January 12th, 2021 regular scheduled meeting of this according to order. And we'll start with an invocation today by Magistrate Phil Sammons.
Thank you, Judge. Let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today with sad hearts in a way of losing so many of our citizens in Boyle County and surrounding this COVID-19, Lord. And we just pray that this can come to an end pretty soon. We know that if we can be vaccinated and a little faster than what it has been, it would certainly appreciate it. Lord, we just ask you to be with their first responders. We just ask you to be with our military people throughout the world who's given us this freedom that we have here today. And Lord, we just ask you to be with our young people. Lord, we just ask you to be with this basketball team that evidently doesn't know what pledge allegiance to the flag and what have you means. And I know one thing, they've lost a lot of support, especially from me. Lord, we just ask you to be with our relatives that's sick and shut in, and Lord, you know what's best for them. Lord, we just ask you to be with this court as we do the county's business in the proper manner, and may we always keep our constituents in mind, and may we vote for the good of the county and not just their individual selves. We ask you to be with us now as we go through this day. I ask all this in Jesus Christ's precious name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. And now we need to approve the prior meeting minutes that are before you.
I move that we
Made by Magistrate Gay to approve the bills as presented. Is there a second? Second by Magistrate Short. Discussion, questions? Okay, those that are remote, Tom, I'll just, okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Got it. 1, 2. Tom Ellis, give me an aye vote because I can't see your picture.
I vote aye.
Okay, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, nay or aye. And, okay, Taylor, aye. Okay, the motion passes to accept and pay the bills. Next, we have, budget transfers.
So we had a few budget transfers from a couple different funds. From the general fund, some of those include COVID sick pay, animal control training, some advertisement for the school conservation, $6,152.10. Under the joint jail, we had COVID-19 salaries and a little repair maintenance of some vehicles, and that was total $3,538.02. And then for EMS, we had COVID sick leave, and that totaled $3,406.88.
We pay the budget transfers as presented, Jamie.
Okay, thank you. Magistrate Gay. Seconded by Magistrate Sammons. Questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor, either raise your right hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Motion passes. Cash transfers.
Cash transfer this time is for joint jail operations and salaries, and it was $156,200.
That's it. Motion.
I move we pay the cash transfers as presented.
All right, Magistrate Gay, seconded by Magistrate Short. Questions, comments, or any issues? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, next, we have the honor and pleasure of having Miss Kathy Miles with us today. And Kathy, if you can give us a brief on the mental health and substance abuse issues that are going on right now during the COVID-19 pandemic. You're muted. You're muted. There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Judge, and thanks to all you members of the court for being interested in this issue. I'm coming to you live and well from Parksville, Kentucky on my cell phone because our internet doesn't support Zoom meeting. So you look kind of small to me on my cell phone. I thought we could talk a little bit about the bad news first, about what's happening with the pandemic and mental health and substance use, some of which are national trends because it's hard to get local data very fast. And then tell you some good news about things that have been happening in spite of the pandemic, new resources and services. And then talk a little bit maybe specifically, I have some things that you all could specifically do from the fiscal court perspective. I think y'all know that ASAP stands for Agency for Substance Abuse Policy. And we are the community coalition that's been around a good long time to look at substance use issues. There is no equivalent coalition in Boyle County to deal with mental health. So what's been happening over the past few years is that we more and more look at mental health resources as well. And that's pretty appropriate because you can't hardly separate substance use and mental health issues. Many people have both. If they have one, they have the other, and COVID has certainly exacerbated that. So I did some quick kind of surveying of some of our mental health folks that are part of ASAP, just to make sure that we would touch on both as we talk through this. National and state experts are talking about the effects of COVID in terms of mental health and substance use as cumulative, that we're beginning to see more and more problems, and we, from what is known about other disasters, and we don't have a lot of information from anything similar to this. 9/11 is one that some of the experts look at. We know that often the effects are delayed. So unfortunately, we should just be ready for the fact that when we get the vaccines and we all don't have to wear masks and don't have to distance, we're still going to see some of this happening because it's been so pervasive and so big. So social isolation, financial problems, family issues, whether it's too much togetherness time or not enough, particularly for older adults. And now we're beginning to see locally a lot of grief and loss issues because we've lost our local friends and family, and difficulties with people being able to grieve it appropriately because we can't get together to do that. And we know that grief is a process and people do best when they can share it with others. If we could look at it, we could look at the mental health effects from the very youngest of our children right on through older adults, and it's coming out in different ways. It's helpful for us to think about this as we've got some people who already had these problems, whose problems have been made worse by COVID. So as we talk through some of the things we're seeing, and obviously overdoses in people who already had a substance use disorder, that's an example. But we're also seeing people who haven't previously had, for instance, depression, showing up as being depressed as a part of COVID. I think it's helpful to think of it in the same way that a lot of people with, for instance, diabetes are not doing so well during COVID. Either they're not getting to their doctors, or they're not getting some of the treatment they need, the exercise, they're not eating as well, all those things, because we're talking about diseases. And the more we can think about all this in the same way, the more we can address it better. So what's the bad news? What are we seeing? And I think a lot of you all read, you read this so you know, and I'll just briefly touch on them. Suicide call prevention calls across the country are way, way, way up, like much more than 100% up, and have been since early April across the country. Our new Vista office here in Danville, which used to be what some of y'all remember as being called Comp Care, is very busy, and they have a 24/7 crisis line, and they're really busy. Emergency room visits across the country and across Kentucky for people related to mental health issues and substance use are up. Just a few weeks ago, the CDC issued an alert for Kentucky, West Virginia, and the Ohio Valley. Have been pretty high. Focus on drugs and not focus on the other issues, but they're drinking more, and they're much concern about young people and vaping because they're home, they're not in school, they're home more. So a little bit about the good news, because those are pretty overwhelming. We've got some hard things going on, but some good news. First of all, people are using telehealth more for mental health and substance use services when they have access to it. So that's important to say, because lots of people don't, but they're using it for therapy, for psychiatry, even for group meetings. They're using it for virtual, they're using virtual support meetings for AA, NA. We have a Parents of Addicted Loved Ones group here in Boyle County, and they are doing virtual support. It is helpful for some people, and for other people, they just say it's not the same. They just can't, they don't get the feeling of support they get when they go in person to a 12-step meeting like AA or NA, but we do have those things available. Lots of groups in town have been helping people with food. And you know, your mental health is not good when you're hungry. So it may seem weird to include that in this list, but it's important to include it. So schools, United Way, syringe exchange program has been helping people with food because they were coming into that program hungry. The issue of emergency housing, we need to lift up and thank strongly the Housing Authority for applying for a grant to get some emergency housing funds. Now, we've had a committee working on emergency housing through ASAP for since late spring because we believe we need emergency shelter in Boyle County. But Tim Kitson and his staff and board applied for this grant, and the grant covers an apartment or possibly even 2 apartments where people can stay for a short term until they get stable housing, and vouchers for people to be able to stay a night or 2 or a little more in a local hotel. I will tell you that we already have the first family very happily living in the short-term apartment, and the vouchers are already starting to be used. So New Year's weekend, there were a lot of calls about people being homeless, and it was cold. And we are thankful that we have that grant, but it's not a long-term solution, and we have people working on a long-term solution. We've got some expansion of services that's gone on during COVID. Isaiah House has expanded some of their outpatient services in Boyle County. Shepherd's House has expanded, including reentry services. New Vista has added some staff, so that's really good news for being able to deal with an increased need. UK's big, almost $90 million grant to fight overdoses has been going now in Boyle County for a year or so. They have their offices in the hub building upstairs, and they've been doing things like giving out a lot of free naloxone for people to use just to reverse overdoses. They're trying to increase the number of prescribers for medication for opioid use disorder and help with safe prescribing in the community. This next week, they're starting a new recovery support group called Smart Recovery, which is a nationally recognized program for people in recovery from substance use and their family members, and that's going to start virtually. We were hoping it could start in person, but it can't. And in all these things, partnerships are more and more important. As resources need to be stretched further, we got to have people working together, and that's one of the ways that coalitions can help. I'm also aware of churches that are trying to do some extra mental health ministry services, and of course you all are well aware that the jail is working on more and more reentry services for people as they leave the jail. So those are some good news. Here's some things that I think y'all can do, and we all need to work on really. First one is, you're not going to be surprised I say this, broadband. We absolutely must, Kentucky's got to have it for education, for support, for telehealth, for both physical health care and behavioral health care, and for people to be able to work from home. I hope that you all will watch carefully the budget in Frankfurt. There are some proposals to provide more support for children, mental health services for children, more Medicaid access, some help for child care assistance. That's an issue that's really popping up a lot for people to be able to go back to work, and workforce development, some other related workforce development. All those things are needed right now and will be needed for a while. I hope that you will revisit the November 2018 jail study. I just reread a lot of it, not all of it, it's thick, but just last week, and see what we still don't have that we need. I read it because there are pieces of that study that said what we need in the community. So the community needs to do their part, as well as what fiscal court and what the jail, joint jail committee might do. And Brent Blevins asked me to he always wants to get the information in from the health department. He said, please encourage people to get accurate information about vaccines, not necessarily things that some people say on the internet that aren't accurate, to go to the CDC website and get the accurate information so we can get beyond this and start doing that post-pandemic work. And then I think we all need to say thank you a lot. We didn't get to have our thank you lunch this year for first responders in November because of COVID. We have a lot of heroes in this community and they are tired, and in any way we can do that, we need to do that. It's my understanding that some communities are doing a resiliency recovery committee for their community to start looking at beyond COVID. What are the things that are going to change? What can we put in place? And I hope in whatever way we do that, that these mental health and substance use issues will stay before all of us, and we will continue to do what we need to do to help people. So that's what I have, and thank you all again. And I believe if you have any questions, I don't know if there's time, but I'm happy to listen to your comments or answer questions if you have them.
Kathy, Tom Ellis here. I've got some grave concerns about the kids, our school kids.
Yep.
You mentioned CDC guidelines and data several times, and the CDC guidelines are more than allowing schools to reopen. They are actually being encouraged. The isolation is the exacerbating issue with these kids and mental health, with the peer group meetings that they can have in the hallways and even in the classrooms with good teachers. The average age of death, I believe, right here in Boyle County is 75, and yet the CDC data is reflecting that the average young person in school is way down on the list in terms of even contracting COVID-19. So I think we need somehow to encourage our local school boards to look hard at what's going on in terms of CDC guidelines, as well as what's going on in other school systems here in Kentucky.
It's a challenge. It's a hard decision. And yes, indeed, we are social creatures. I mean, it is the way our brains, the neuroscience of this is turning out to be pretty important. Our brains are wired to need people. And so all of us are concerned about that. Of course, we're also concerned about the spread of the COVID. So I'm pleased to hear, Tom, and I know that you are very concerned about kids, and those are some of the schools are going to be dealing with this when they come back for a while. I mean, we've got some kids that have some families and kids that have really been hurting.
And of course, it affects economic development because the parents, in many, many cases, have to be there with the kids.
Right. There's a new study I just read yesterday that women have not returned to the workforce as fast in healthcare. It was a healthcare study, as fast as men have, and it's because of the issue of childcare availability and needing to be home with kids. So that's something we're going to talk about in the Workforce Development Committee when we meet week after next, because as you all know, we have a good number of healthcare jobs already available here, and we have some new ones coming online in Boyle County. So how to do workforce development in the midst of all this is interesting and takes some serious brainstorming and work.
Thank you.
Well, Kathy, thank you so much for being with us today and providing us with a lot of information. And know that Magistrate Kaywood, who had asked a couple months ago to have you come on and present this information, I found it very enlightening and very informative. So I deeply appreciate what you had to say. And if you can see it on screen, I know you're on your phone in Parksville, but there's other match giving you a thumbs up for what you had to say. Okay.
Yeah, I can't see them, but Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Kathy, I'd like to say thank you also, and I'm real pleased that Earl got to hear you because he can help carry and the message to the city citizens and the commissioners. So I'm glad, Earl, that you're a part of today's discussion.
Yeah, thanks, Earl. Here.
You have a good day.
Hey, y'all too. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Earl Coffey, the Down City Manager, and several of the court, including myself, was at a meeting last week over in the basement of City Hall. And the MLC Commission, the mayor and the city manager extended an invitation to, we extended an invite based on discussions we overheard for him to present to the full court some ideas and concepts that he has regarding economic development moving forward. So Earl, this is your time. Appreciate you being with us today.
I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate you guys allowing us the forum to talk to you directly. Anytime you guys would like us to come up, feel free to just let us know. We'll be happy to talk to you about things. I think that is really important, and just as a matter of being able to talk to one another and have a conversation. And there again, I appreciate being able to sit in front of you today. The ones that heard the conversations, a little bit of this, I'm sure will be repetitive, but and I do not want to just go into a rabbit hole of what I think. What I'd like to do is engage you guys and hear what you all have to say. So what I have to say will be brief, hopefully, and then we'll go from there. So the reason that we are speaking to you directly today is about economic development and the community's approach to that. We began our presentation with the commission the other day discussing the idea of why we exist as a city. And I think that does, with the county, it's a little bit different because you guys are constitutional and have a lot of other embedded requirements to exist, right? Tax collection, for example, court system. But collectively, though, we serve and we are the consolidation of a lot of community voices, and then we execute for the collective what that mission is, right? And we then therefore support. One of the things we do as two organizations, and we have had a long history of making an effort to do that jointly, is economic development. We actively support economic activity through infrastructure growth, infrastructure management, such as county roads for Duane and city streets for the city, water and sewer. But our goal as two organizations is to foster an environment so the economic activity can flourish. And we do that through tax policies, through administrative policies, and administrative oversight. And so that's the context that we are approaching you with today, is how can we, as two organizations, continue to work together to support economic activity in our community. The other thing that happens over time that we try to describe is, as communities modernize, as you grow, as you get more people, you tend to go away from there's originally, when you start, there's a lot of pressure on volunteers. And so a lot of boards are set up with volunteers, and you have strong philanthropy. I can't say that word right now, but you have support of your organizations through volunteer efforts and volunteer man hours. And as you get more populated, as you get bigger, as you get more complex, you tend to have more paid staff. And so we have seen that in our own organization, as the EDP was consolidated around a single employee years ago. It went from being a volunteer industrial foundation with the CDC and some other components and Magistrate Gay and Mr. Sammons and Mr. Kaywood, I'm sure you guys remember those things. But then we consolidated around this EDP concept 15 years ago, and that has changed and morphed as the demand or pressure on what we do. When they passed the Speedy law, which meant we had to change our bylaws to make sure we were more transparent, which is totally fine. But all those things are just a reflection of how the world changes over time. And so now we find ourselves here today, continuing to address change and the need to alter how we do things a little bit. Would say, and going back to how has economic development changed? The biggest tenet that we are able to identify in economic development through whether it be the cities or the EDP's strategic plan or the joint task force work is you see an increasing, and if we go outside of our footprint and go to other communities, what you see is an increasing role in public dollars in direct economic recruitment, economic activity, right? And that has really the ultimate driver is what we've been able to identify as the need to create a situation where the question is asked, do we as a community want to incentivize land, right? And you don't give away land. You do have a scenario where you grant land and you recover the cost of that land over the course of your economic incentive package, right? So it's not just given away, but you do use that land as an economic incentive, right? And so that's really the land question is one that we have not been nimble in addressing historically. And so we find ourselves being forced to have that conversation. And ultimately, that's the crux of where you're at. If you then, let's go back to the strategic plan real quick, and we'll come back to that. The strategic plan recommended 6 priority actions by section: organizational structure, workforce development, new business recruitment, existing business retention, marketing, and asset development. The asset development aspect is where that land question was really poised to be addressed, right? And as we go through since 2017, what was interesting as a side, and we want to give the community credit. It is not just the city and county, but the community as a whole. When we go through that strategic plan in 2017, there is a lot of items in the strategic plan that when we go back and we look at the things that were not necessarily on items that I had the opportunity to work on, there was a lot of opportunity, a lot of items that had been addressed in some way by a community member, either a volunteer or paid position, or the fiscal court or the city, right? Which is, to me, a testament to the desire of the community to do work. And I think that we should all be proud of that, because I do think we have an active community. Setting that aside, out of that strategic plan, drilling down into asset development, the land acquisition task force was formed, and they found really 7 findings, and I'll repeat those just for our conversation today. Number 1 is that there was a need for more land for industrial development. Number 2, there was we needed to anticipate the total investment cost, not just the purchase price of land. And so they had the comparison where there was land acquired for industrial growth in the $1 million range, but the build out of that property to make it available for industry was about $5 million, right? So when we think through how much money is required, we acknowledge that. The other thing that the task force found is that at this point in time, that funding comes almost exclusively from public agencies, whether it be the city, county, or state grants or federal grants, right? Which is how they discussed those grant opportunities, and also tax increment financing of some level through funding options. And then what was interesting is that they diverged from just the land, but acknowledged that as we acquired land, we still had to take care to promote and support the existing industry in your community. Now, I'm a foundational believer in that. I think that is, you know, they're already citizens. We have to support them and we have to engage them directly and have a continuous relationship with them and with as organizations, right? Then the other thing is as we acquired land or as we went down this road, the community still needed to speak with one voice when marketing. And no matter where we go, no matter what the framework is, you see that. And that is a important aspect of economic development is that when an entity desires to relocate or you're doing recruiting, you're really centralized and you have a cohesive a brand and communication link. And that is very important. And then also they identified the need to have clear organizational structure as a byproduct of whatever we did with the land. So moving into that, so the task force then had the report that I think has been shared with the fiscal court by now. It was a 3-page document. We've talked about it being the Turbofield doctrine, jokingly, but really it was a committee of I think Magistrate Gay was on the committee, Commissioner Atkins for the city, Alan Turbofield and some others, identified 4 key points. And ultimately the out of those key points, the question is does the committee want to continue to foster economic development at a high level? If you do, then the committee is recommending that the city and county figure out a way to acquire land to use it as an incentive. Now, when we have gone through the land acquisition task force had certain recommendations as far as how to manage that land. However, the one thing is clear in statute is that for the city and county to acquire land and to provide oversight of that fiduciary investment, that fiduciary responsibility of the court and the Board of Commissioners, we have to organize some type of economic development authority. And then, and that is where some of the gray area with organizational changes is really came out. How the city and county wants to integrate an EDA, if that's what the county wants to do with the city, how we choose to integrate that into the economic development platform, how you, if you're going to speak with one message, then I really think that we have to really think about the marketing of that asset and how can we structure that asset in a way that we're still speaking with one voice and we still have the collective partnership because we are stronger together as a community, right? So we still need those community volunteers and those people that are invested in those ancillary economic, in the ancillary economic activity that's not in their channel, right? But we've engaged the hospital, we've engaged Center College historically. As the city goes, those 2 entities goes, right? We need to have a stronger relationship with those folks. And so that's kind of where we're at. And that was the end of really our presentation the other day. And the goal is to, today is to assess from the court your all's belief as far as whether or not, number one, we need to incentivize land. If we do, then how do you all want to go about discussing the idea of forming an authority? And then ultimately somewhere down the road, after we go through those first 2 steps, figure out how that authority integrates into the other economic activity we have. And the idea that you form an authority to acquire land, you could do that really quickly. If that's the route we're going to go, probably advise to do that. That doesn't mean that you have land. That doesn't mean you're ready to buy land or that you have, and when I say ready to buy land, that you've assessed a piece of property, that you know this parcel you want, that you don't have that. But administratively, if we go ahead and organize, then we can better understand, better budget, better start to think about how that integrates. And then we can be in a position to act quickly if we need to And then we can begin the process of thoroughly vetting properties and deciding where you want to go in the long term, and leave it up to your EDA to make some of those decisions. So that's really all I could add in the short term. And certainly we open it up to any questions the court has.
I
Thank
believe,
you.
if I remember correctly, Earl, that the commission indicated last week that they were interested in sitting you up here and moving forward with it to develop, see if we were interested in developing the concept of an EDA mutually. Is
That is correct.
pretty much it?
That is correct. I think the commission, the commission is inclined to continue to have the conversation with themselves, but certainly it's like we said, we desire, and I'm expressing when I say we, I think the Board of Commissioners, when I say we, desired to work with the county, and because that's the right thing to do. And when we talk about developing and speaking with one voice for our community, other communities it may be different. For our community, we believe that working together makes us stronger.
Judge Tom Ellis here. I would like to make a motion that we pursue in meetings with Danville City Council and with the city manager, all that we can know about the development of an EDP. And if that's seconded and we have discussion, I have several points I'd like to make to support that motion.
Tom, that would be an
Well, you-
EDA.
The motion was for an EDA, not an EDP, Tom.
I said EDA.
You said EDP.
Okay.
My
Let's get it-
apologies. Okay,
Let's get
thank
it
you.
clarified.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the correction. I will clarify my motion to state EDA, Economic Development Authority.
I'm
All
happy
right,
to second
here's
that.
what we want to do. Here's the Economic Development Authority. There's a motion made by Magistrate, seconded by Magistrate Kaywood. Now we can discuss, everybody can say what they want to say.
Judge, to open that discussion up, I'd like to point out, and it's critical that folks understand that this is pre-COVID data, that over a 10-year period, with economic development on the front burner of all of our minds and our tax dollars being used, we lost 70 employees in Danville and Boyle County. Second point, Boyle County taxpayers through fiscal court paid nearly $1.1 million to effect positive economic development. And Danville taxpayers paid nearly $1.3 million over that same period of time, again, to effect economic development and job development. And a third piece of data that we need to be very aware of, that the total expenditures on economic development in that same period of time, inclusive of Boyle and Danville taxpayers' dollars, the total expenditure was over $5.5 million, yet we lost 70 jobs.
Okay, I think Magistrate Sammons would like to say something. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
We discussed, before we got too far along, that it's advisable that we'd have the city attorney and the county attorney to get together and develop an interlocal agreement before we went any further. Is that correct or not?
That was discussed, and that was discussed by by Mr. Coffey, that we should encourage each of our respective attorneys to get together to draft some language. It could be done about the middle of February, roughly. It was roughly a short 2 or 3 week period of time, if I remember correctly, Earl, for us to entertain that arrangement to work mutually together or collaborate for moving the EDA forward.
That is correct, yes. So the next step, what we would like to do, if y'all are so inclined, what we would like to do is get the city attorney with the county attorney, and certainly we can help coordinate that and allow them the opportunity to develop that baseline interlocal agreement. And then if we need to have a joint meeting, we'll try to figure that out. But otherwise, we can walk the document to the fiscal court and the city commission and have edits done on that, just like we would do anything else.
Mr. Coffey, another point that I'd like to make, that I was very gratified when Mayor Paris the need to include both Seville and Junction City in these discussions over time.
That is correct.
I have a question. for
Okay.
Earl.
Question for Earl here.
Earl, correct
Yes.
me if I'm wrong, please, sir. My understanding and memory is that the authority may have more avenues to handle the financing side than a private organization.
That is correct.
So the window for financing and paying for land, we, as being part of a program, there's just more of them out there, more opportunities out there.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Well, on that point, though, if I could interject just a little bit, because I've talked to Earl in the past about this issue as well, and I do think, I believe wholeheartedly in a recommendation and that the task force made, and I'm, in favor of exploring this avenue. But I keep going back to the funding part and the financing. While yes, there are other avenues, I think we also need to clearly recognize, as Earl indicated earlier, that this will require a lot of public dollars to be injected into this. And I think we can't be naive and think that it's not, because all these communities that we explored and visited, they were willing to put millions and millions of dollars into their economic development. And those are public dollars. And so I think we need to go in to this eyes wide open as we move forward if we take this new approach to economic development.
Well, and when you, to Magistrate Gay's point, we are, you have to step back from it and look at it as if you're running the community as a business, right? And so if I'm running Coffee Enterprise and I need a new computer, that's going to cost me $2,000. And I'm going to have to look at what is that new computer going to buy me? What return is that going to get me? And so it's a similar thing for the community as a whole. So the city and county, when we look at a parcel of land to consider incentivizing it, so you're going to do an investment of several $1 million potentially, but your goal is to do that with a business mindset in a way that you expect a return on that investment. So you're not making that investment in hopes of return on the investment. We want to make that investment as a community expecting a return, right?
Yeah, and I agree completely, Earl, and I think you're absolutely right. And I agree with your
It's an
thinking and your thought
investment.
process there.
It's not an expenditure. You are investing capital dollars into your future, right? Just
Right.
like you are a small business.
And I agree completely, and I'm on board with that. And I just want to make sure the rest of the magistrates understand that these are big dollars, these are public dollars. And like in any business, there is risk involved and there's patience involved, because
Correct.
you have to invest in our future and realize that it could be a 10, 15, 25-year investment before we see any return. And so I just want to make sure we're eyes wide open on that approch.
Yes,
Well,
and
I think,
that's
Jamie-
a good point too. That's a good point, and understanding your time frame, and the city and county has been here 200 years, right? We've been here, and it's not a new thing, and so we oftentimes look at things in a 4-year window or 6-year window or what our time scale is. And really the reality of taking 4 years to build the fire station is not that big in the life of the window or the city. And when you look back on that, it's going to seem like a single data point that fire station was constructed. And 20 years from now, it would just have a tag on the side of the building that says 2021, right? And that's all people will know. So the fire station across the street, the existing central station, we think it was built in 1967. That's all we know. It might have taken 10 years to build that thing. Right. So just, you got to, like he's suggesting too, we have to understand the time scale a little bit and not lose sight of that. That can be distracting.
I think we all understand that. I mean, you've got a couple business owners on the fiscal court that definitely understand investments and then understand that you're going to have to put in some capital to see some returns. You know, we've already put in 10 years of taxpayer dollars and have not seen the returns we'd like to see, the returns that these taxpayers would like to see. People that are expecting better jobs, better opportunities in our town. This town has a lot to offer, but we're not getting the bites that we should be. And you know, this morning right before this meeting, I was scrolling through social media, and there was a nice little post from our neighbors down to the south in Somerset about they've got a little incentive going on about for new businesses opening. There's grant money there for them, and a local business in the community is matching that grant. So while we may be taking some of the private dollars out of this new venture, doesn't mean they're out completely. If we're doing the right thing, and if we're being wise with taxpayer dollars and investing it the right way, we still could see some opportunity for private money. But this has not worked so far, and I'm not diminishing anybody's hard work because I know there was work there. Just at some point, you have to look and say that we tried it; it's not working. My concern has always been that there's been so many people involved in this current EDP that it's almost impossible to get anything done. And I fully agree with Earl on the we've got too many voluntary people that are in charge of our continued welfare and also our taxpayer dollars, not elected officials. So we need to be a little more responsible. And I think this is a good direction. And we're not necessarily kicking anyone out. If our current people want to be part of this, they can still, in some way, I'm sure, be part of it. But we need to take the reins, and we need to move forward. Earl, I definitely want to say that I've enjoyed your time as city manager. I appreciate greatly your desire to make sure that Boyle County and Danville work well together. We're all Boyle Countyans, and I think you've done a great job already fostering a good relationship between the commission and the court. So thank you very much for that, sir.
Yeah, I would echo those comments completely. I do think that the working relationship is, a lot to Earl's credit, is already moving in a very positive direction. So thank you for that. I do disagree a little bit with my friend Magistrate Cullen on. I think that we've come a long way thanks to our EDP. Yes, we have more work to do. Can we explore a new direction? Absolutely. And there may be a better direction. I think, again, I go back to the fact that we really have put very little public dollars into our, all things considered, into our economic development efforts. My understanding is we currently have 600 available vacant jobs in our community that we're working to fill. It's a multifaceted issue. We obviously have, as we've talked about in the past, we have to address some affordable housing issues in the community, and combined with our asset development issues, and because we've got to find the people to fill these vacant jobs that we have currently in our community, and it's not an easy task. It's not an easy task to find affordable and available useful land in our community. We do have challenges in that regard. It's out there, and we need to work in that direction. But there are lots of challenges. But all that said, I am encouraged and I'm optimistic that we can improve on our system that we have and make it better as we move forward.
Jamie, I'll go back to my financial days working with several banks. I think we've kind of sparred on this before, but if we were seeing a good result from our current EDP, I don't think any one of us as magistrates would have a problem investing more into it. But when your investments are flat, you don't put any more money into it. I think right now we've been kind of treading water, and we were putting in the bare minimums because we just weren't seeing the results. So I think it only makes sense that if we see good things happening with our economic development, then yeah, we're going to put more money in. But when it's flat or not performing like you'd like, you just don't put the money in. So that's why we've done very little, and that's why we've pushed to do very little.
I think this is good comments, good discussions. Is there anybody in the room that would like to say anything else about it? Before we take a vote, if there's not, we have a motion, and the motion made by Magistrate Ellis and seconded by Magistrate Kaywood is for us to enter into and allow each of our respective attorneys, city attorney, county attorney, to develop an interlocal agreement, how we will collaborate and discuss the formation of an economic development authority jointly with the city of Danville. Period. Is that my understanding of the motion?
And this is just an exploration exercise at this point in time. Is that correct?
Exploration. We're examining the possibilities of entering into collaborative agreement, interlocal agreement with the city to move the concept of an economic development into reality.
All the questions.
Okay. All those, I need to see a sign of hands on remote or voice vote. All those in your right hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous. Earl, you have the direction of the court confirmed to move forward with development or considerations, discussions for an economic development authority.
We will go forward. Thank you guys for the time and for your energy.
Thanks, Earl. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, Earl.
And I would like to echo the comments about the absolutely refreshing efforts by our city manager and the mayor and the commission to work collaboratively with county government on a myriad of items and topics to work together. Together we can be stronger. Thank you for Earl's refreshing injection into that element and that those efforts.
Earl,
Yes, sir.
echo what I think Tom Ellis said a while ago. As you well know, I've been around a long time and seen a lot of city managers come and go. And I'm not trying to blow smoke, but you bring up a fresher idea and seem like a good idea and interested in the city and the county working together and actually getting along real well together. And I really, for one, appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving right along. Thanks everybody for that discussion. We have a report in our packet from Helping Hands. We have a Helping Hands person with us. If you'd like to address, make any comments about the Boyle County, Mercer County Helping Hands Association. You have some information in your packet. You got anything you'd like to say?
No, we wanted to. I had talked to our chairman and he had been told that he won't be on the program. I don't think he's here, is he?
I don't see him. I understand that because it's virtual, we had this information in our packet.
Yeah, but I think Ann, I believe he told me that Ann told him that he wouldn't be on today. He was working.
Okay, all right.
Can we put that off for next time?
We can.
I appreciate it, but I'd rather he do it.
All right, next on our agenda, we have Duane Campbell, Public Works. Duane, I see you're on.
All right. I have 5 items that we need to advertise for bids, and we can do them all 5 in one motion if you prefer. first the stone and the asphalt are two we do every year. We've been, in the last 2 years, we've been doing flowers for Constitution Square, which for the last 2 or 3 years have gone really well. And then as far as that Constitution Square, we would like to look at replacing the roof on one of the cabins, and the jail cabin is the one we're looking at first. And that was also agreed to by the committee. And then also the sidewalk repair, or the replacement, I should say, but the sidewalk replacement for the sidewalk that runs from Main Street to Walnut Street. So your pleasure, we can do all 5 in one bid, or one motion, or if you need to discuss them separately, I'm open to that too.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
And this is all for all. The motion has been made for Magistrate Short, seconded with Magistrate Sammons to approve the request to authorize the request for bids for stone, asphalt, Constitution Square flowers, jail building roof, and sidewalk repair at Constitution Square. Any comments or discussions? All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your right hand.
Aye.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Motion passes. Thank you so much. Next, Duane, is that it?
That's all I have. These are all budget items, so just wanted to put that in there, but that's all I have.
And this goes, we did have a line item budget for Constitution Square repairs by the court in the county's budget, but we initially have that money out of the trust fund, I think, has come in to help, if I'm not mistaken, of about $42,000 roughly to help that effort on Constitution Square.
That's great. And when I bring the bids back to you, we can also, address that budget issue that Keegan had. So we'll be prepared to do that at that time too.
Sounds good. Thanks, Duane.
Duane, I got a quick question for you real quick here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Since November, been trying to get this tree issue on Chrisman Lane taken care of. Can you give me anything on that one, or?
Yes, they have put that on the list for their contractor. So they're just waiting for their contractor to move in to Boyle County and cut several trees. That one being one of them.
Do we have a time frame? Is it going to be in 2021 or?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping it'll be this before winter's out or maybe early spring. But he didn't know when the contractor would be coming to our county. So
who do we have to talk to? Because this has been going on for several times. It's actually a hazard on that small road. So.
No, I mean, I've reminded them, and we just now finally got him to put it on the list for the contractor to come and cut. So
is that Jeremy?
I think Jeremy is the ultimate, the one who ultimately gives approval for that. Yes.
Okay. Can you send me his number, please?
Ellis here. We've got culverts you and I have talked about, and I'm still getting feedback months later from my constituents on clearance of those on state roads, and the signage as well on Perryville Road.
Right. The tile, he told me he was hoping maybe to get to that this week. The signs on Perryville Road, they're going to re-sign that area with new signs. If you've driven out there and see the markings on the shoulders, that's the placement, the markings for the placements for the new signs. So we're just waiting for them to bring, get the new signs made and brought down to install.
Please impress on them that there's 100-foot long semi pavement tracks that were laid when somebody was trying to turn in front of a semi a couple of weeks ago indicate just how serious that signage is.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Duane. Appreciate it. You have a good day.
Thanks.
Taylor Wofford. You're
Good
up.
morning.
Good morning.
Judge, if it please the court, I'd like to give a little good positive information or some good news out first. As of this morning, we have 0 inmates positive for COVID and 0 employees positive for COVID.
Great work.
We are continuing. We still are continuing to quarantine inmates during the intake process before they go into general population. By our numbers remaining low, this has allowed us to get in front of the COVID situation. So today we're in a pretty good spot. Department of Corrections, we have 70 inmates belonging to Department of Corrections. Boyle has 56. Mercer has 26. I'm holding 10 for other counties. So just wanted to give you that information. And then also I'd like to ask the fiscal court to approve renewing the contract, the jail court contract for 2 years. We've been using them and this is a good product for us. It's paid for out of canteen, so it doesn't come out of our budget. So I'd like to ask the court.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
James,
second.
I got the motion made by Magistrate. Who seconded the motion?
Cullen.
Cullen? On the jail court contract. All right, thank you for that. Any discussion about approval of the motion to approve the jail court contract and continue on with it for 24 months? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion carries. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Let's see what else you got.
Yes, Judge,
Hold on, Tom.
Wait just a second.
Hey, man.
Wait just a second, Tom. Brian. Yeah.
I'll get this signed and submitted to jail court, and then I'll send a copy to the courthouse, so you all can file it.
All right,
Can you hear me?
thank you.
And then, one other thing in the packet, you should have received this. This is our reentry program. So we've been measuring everything that, James Hunt's been doing with our stateside program. And the numbers, if you all have had a chance to look at it, we're having a 77% success rate with this in completion. And it's all due to what James Hunt. So next time you see James Hunt, please give him a pat on the back because he deserves it. He's done excellent work. Did anybody have any questions over this?
No, I did have
I'm
a
good.
question about the program that Andrew Wilkinson has. Are you getting much opportunity to utilize that right now?
Well, he comes in on a weekly basis and we try to provide him with inmates that would possibly fit his program. I don't know what kind of success he's having with it. I haven't had a chance to talk to him because of COVID, in probably a month.
No worries. I was just curious.
Manager Short's got a comment about Ed Wilkinson's project.
To my knowledge, seeing Hearts there, that it's going to be changed to Isaiah House. I mean, not Isaiah House, but Shepherd's House. They're going a different direction with that. So you'll be getting more information on that, I'm sure. So it's almost about that.
Thank you, Mr. Short.
And then the Judge Snowquay had one last thing. Now that we've got all of our employees back from COVID, I will be coordinating with Angie Muncy and we'll be trying to get out to help with the litter abatement.
We need it. Thank you for that, and I appreciate that. She's going to address that issue.
Comment on litter abatement, Judge. I've had two complaints on US 68 between Perryville and our convenience center. And I drove out there on Saturday and you could fill up a dump truck with what has dropped there just in the last couple of weeks. It's urgent that something be done there. And thank you, Brian, for bringing that up.
Just so everybody's aware, I'm limited with I only have 70 Department of Correction or state inmates, and some of those are SAP guys. I think 22 or 26 of them are SAP. So I only have a few people, so I'm limited on the numbers now. The Department of Corrections come back with even more criteria on the people that are allowed to go out and work because of COVID. So they've tightened up even more on me. But I do have 1 or 2 inmates that will fit, that we'll be able to send out. So we'll do what we can do to help Angie with this.
Much appreciated.
Then also, one last thing, I'll have this set up at the courthouse today. I have a thank you card to the physical court from my staff for what you all did on the 25th and 26th. They wanted me to make sure everyone, I told everybody, thank you. They really appreciate it. And this went a long way with the staff, and thank you all. That's all I have, Judge.
Thank you, Jailer Wofford.
Before you leave, I've got some devastating news. Last night on KET's Comment on Kentucky, we had very friendly legislators there and others talking about what's going on with the budget. With 79 regional jails like ours, the budget would cut millions of reimbursement to those 79 jails. We have to get behind Jailer Wofford and our detention center and send a message, not just through our legislators, Girdler and Elliott, but we need to get a message to the governor that would be an outrage. Just ask Kathy Miles what she would think in terms of all the wonderful programs that are being run right now that we've heard about all morning. This, I would recommend we get a letter out, Judge, perhaps over your signature, because that would be, when you hear the figure, because I'm not going to quote it because it was so high, I'm afraid to quote it, but it would just mitigate everything we're trying to do to help these inmates.
Better get a letter out to Stivers, not the governor.
We, that's good information. I did not see that last night, but Magistrate Ellis, we will do everything humanly possible between Judge Dedman and myself to add 2 county judge executives to draw attention to the discrepancies that the budget would negatively impact our detention centers across the state. Point of clarification, and I'm sure that General Wofford is going to allow me to do. We are not a regional judge.
Excuse me, yeah, for that use of terms, yeah.
All right, so we will get a letter drafted. I'll circulate it to the court, but we'll work in conjunction with our partner in this. And why that brings me to the last thing I'd like to discuss why General Wofford is on with us. Over the last few months, we have, in conjunction with Mercer and the Joint Jail Committee, discussed some concerns and issues and nomenclature and other things that the jailer brought to our attention. And we had Magistrate Ellis and Magistrate Gay involved in some of those discussions, along with magistrates from Mercer County and the judge execs and the county attorneys and so on. And we have before us an agreed upon language between Mercer and Boyle County interlocal agreement as it relates to joint jail. Excuse me, a memorandum of understanding, which I shared with the jailer yesterday, and we had a brief discussion about it. So I would like to present that memorandum, which I just got from our county attorney yesterday afternoon. The court has not seen it, but all it basically does, and well, not to say all, it basically clears up some items that are important regarding the description of the agreement, who does what, the jailer, a dual county detention center, it's not a regional jail, other issues as such. And there are things that the jailer and I discussed regarding the joint jail situation that I think we can collectively, on advice from counsel and CACO and others, if the court will approve me to sign this along with Judge Dedman, it's what we have worked for the last several months. It's simple. It's one page. It's not rocket science, and we can move forward.
I'll make that motion to approve
I'll
that
second.
interlocal agreement and signing.
Well, if you don't mind, Magistrate Short made it first, made the motion to accept the memorandum of understanding, and Magistrate Gay, you were the first to speak up next to him, so you can be the second if that's approved.
That works for me. Tell him he needs to slow down, though. He's from the 2nd district.
Out on the committee.
Is there any discussion amongst the court on the memorandum of understanding? I can read it it's short, if you'd like me to, but it's mostly in those things that Magistrate Ellis and Jamie Gay were a participant in the times we were together.
Judge, I'd call the question.
Okay, good. Yeah. Good. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the memorandum of understanding between the Boyle Mercer interlocal agreement regarding joint jail, signify by saying aye, or raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, appreciate it. Motion carries. Thank you for that. That's all we got. Brian, you got anything else in closing? Okay, thumbs up, good deal. Appreciate it. Next, now, Angie, it's your time to talk about litter abatement. I know you're just chomping at the bit.
Yeah, it's getting to be the topic after almost a year.
Yeah.
Well, we have not had any inmates, just like Brian said, and Brian has done his best to try to work with me, but COVID has put the whammy on everything, and the public ought to be aware that COVID has stopped a lot of things. So, Tom, I know who your constituent is. He's already called me. And yes, that's a bad place too. Danville's got a bad place coming into Danville, which, is very bad on people coming in. So I have talked to the judge about this issue, and we really, really need to start moving on it. I am asking for approval to hire a part-time person for solid waste. I mean, this won't stop the inmates. I mean, when we get the inmates back, it just is another big plus, and it just keeps things moving even faster. I have
I'll make
one
that
person
motion.
now. Okay.
I'll
You want
second.
to know what, where, Jason?
Nancy couldn't think of imagine it short. Now, we can discuss it. She's gonna tell you, the proposal on the salary and the part-time and all that other stuff.
It'd been good to go through the committee first, wouldn't it, Mr. Short?
I can do that.
Bill, I
Go
don't
ahead,
have
Angie.
time for that.
And I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about these guys that are making motions. They got the questions, you know, to go to the magistrate. Short. he's the
Oh,
chairman.
Phil, it'll be okay. Everybody knows you're there.
We don't have time for you to wake up, sir.
It's an urgent situation.
Yep.
It is, it is.
We
Go
get
ahead,
money for this, and I have talked to I've talked to Earl Coffey also, and he's aware of what needs to happen with the city right now. So we are trying to work together with that. So, but having that been said, I am wanting to hire a Daryl Patterson, part-time as a solid waste worker. He will the starting salary there is $10.50 an hour. And hopefully, if things keep progressing, we can eventually put him as full-time. But that's what I'm asking for as of right now. I'd like to have a starting date as soon as, whatever you think is feasible, like tomorrow. But no, I know it can't be tomorrow, but maybe, Friday or Monday where the new payroll starts.
This is, in my opinion, considered an emergency hire because of the situation that we're facing.
I'll go ahead as quick as Jan and get her on the payroll.
Just,
Do it.
well, you need to do it right now.
Three weeks,
So,
do it.
as quick as possible. When's the, I don't even know when the beginning of the pay period is. We just need to do it as quick as possible.
Okay.
So, part-time, $10.50 an hour. What else? Does anybody need anything else they want to know or ask a question regarding the
I have
motion?
one comment.
Go ahead.
Angie, I want
Yes.
to help you, but I want something in return. I want first priority.
Of course, everybody wants something in return.
The bypass.
Bob out and bypass.
Bob out and
Yes,
bypass.
Yeah, I got that message this morning again also for about the 5th time. I totally agree with that. That'll probably be one of the first.
She agrees. She agrees.
Like,
I
Anybody
agree
else
with
have
that.
any
But I
comments?
do want to make a comment for any of the public that's listening to anybody else. I understand we're hearing from our people out there, and I come from a place that I had to work hard on this also. But community service goes a long way. If you'll just get out and pick out by your front yard, it would help matters a whole lot. You know, I pick up my neighbor's litter every day.
Pretty thin people out there, but it's a gateway into our community on a
It
historic.
is, I agree with that, but you know, everybody can also just do their part just a little, just to help, you know. It won't hurt. It gets you just some good exercise. Go out there in your front yard and pick up a few things. It helps.
Yeah, I agree, Angie, because we have a new puppy and now I'm back to walking our dog and I pick up a full bag full and then some.
Well,
On
sure,
my
it
walk.
doesn't hurt a thing, just pick up a little bit of things and it helps.
It's amazing how much stuff is out there, but and I also would ask that people in the public really do their part in containing their waste, their trash as
There's
well.
plenty of trash
Now-
cans out there. There's plenty of ways. You
Please,
have free services.
Right, it's
It's so
just,
cute.
people need to contain their trash and that would go a long way too. And then if everybody would just do their part and help pick up a little bit as they go around, please, that helps, that works.
Yes.
I think this is a great move forward. Like I say, I consider it a situation, so, any other discussion?
Pay period starts Friday, by the way.
This coming Friday?
Yeah.
The pay period starts this coming Friday.
Okay. Well, I'd like for that
You
to be
may-
his first day.
His first day.
I'd like to make a comment. I mean, me and Angie, we talked about, you know, this situation about hiring this new hire. So, you know, I was aware of this, so.
Appreciate you sharing it. All right, any other discussions? We'll vote. I see a raise of the right hand and a voice vote. For all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Like sign, and motion carries. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, Angie, next.
As you know, we taken bids for to lease property for animal composting sites. We received 2 bids. I am asking to motion to reject both bids. I think it's in the best interest of the county that we do this. I am working, well, I ain't gonna say just me, the judge and a few others, we are working with the city, hopefully to find something that works with them or something that we can purchase ourselves in the future. But as of right now, I'm just asking to reject both bids and let's move on.
I make a motion.
All right, there's a motion to reject the bids for animal composting lease site.
Second,
Is there second? Is that mentioned, Gay?
yes.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, raising your right hand.
Aye.
Right, appreciate it. All the nay, anybody negative? Nay, all right, buddy, so thank you for that. It passes. Anything else, Miss Angie?
That's all I have. Thank you all very much for your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you for all your hard work and your efforts and your professionalism.
Hey, Angie.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if it was mentioned, but could you take care of the trash on the bypass by chance?
Sure. I'm going to take care of as much as I can as soon as I can. I mean, everybody's going to have to be patient. You know, it's a mess out there, and I'm sorry if I don't get to you first, but you know, we will. It'll be a slow process, but we'll work at it.
It's all that paper that won't fit in those slots at the convenience centers.
They'll be all right. Tell them they can put it in something
Okay.
else.
Miss Shannon Green is next.
I have a request for approval of a comp time agreement for, I think it's Brett Simpson.
Okay.
You all could approve
All those
that.
in favor of approving, I need a motion and a second.
Make a motion.
Motion to approve the comp time compensatory time agreement for Brett Simpson. Is there a second? Second, Magistrate K. Wood, the motion made by Magistrate Short. Any discussion? There being none, right hand or the voice vote of aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Like sign. Motion carries. Thank you for that.
Next, I sent you, or Ian sent you all an amended reappointment order. When, at the last court meeting, when you all approved the pay increases for the finance staff, those were not on the original reappointment order. So we need to approve those. And then we also had a jail employee that reached his 6 month right after that approval. So
All right, everybody understand what we're doing? This is the annual, reappointment approval, of proposed wage increase, and it did not reflect the actions we took last year. So we need to amend it, and that's what we're talking about.
I make that motion to approve those amendments as presented.
Motion to approve the amendments as presented. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Magistrate Short. Motion made by Magistrate Gay. Any discussion, questions or comments? There being none, appreciate a vote by signifying by saying aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
the last
All
item,
right.
Julie and I are going to talk about a little bit. December 31st, the paid sick leave ended for employees. So we just wanted to let you all know that that had ended. We won't be extending the paid sick leave. And if employees that do not have any sick leave time or vacation time to use, they can file a workers' comp claim. I talked to Keiko the other day, and they said, yes, if it's a work-related because they contracted it during work, then they could file a workers' comp claim. I just wanted to let you all know.
Contracted it while an employee of the county.
Yes.
Okay, did they specifically say while at work?
They, no, they didn't specifically say.
Excuse me?
Magistrate Sammons would know more about this than I do, but from my experience, it would have to be under the workers' comp laws tied to work. And that's going to complicate the situation. I've got something to say about that after we hear from Magistrate Sammons if he has a comment.
Well, I just think it has to be covered. I mean,
It has to be work related.
Yes.
Okay, but there's different ways to be work related.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
How we gonna prove that, he didn't get it?
We'll go on.
It's working.
I think we need to file those workman comp claims.
Right.
You're on the board as it relates to the employees of the county that do have this and don't have the leave time, the sick leave to be able to take. I think that's an excellent consultation that Keiko has given us.
Right.
Judge,
Yes.
important to clarify, they get 2/3 of their salary. Is that right, Shannon?
That's right. If they take the workers' comp, it would be 2/3 their salary, not their full salary.
Another thing too, you know, if you don't have any sick time and you go to workers' comp, is that fair for people that's got sick time that have to use it first?
But then they'll get their full salary.
They get their full.
Yeah, I mean, but what I'm saying, if they don't want to take their sick time, can they go on this and not use their sick days?
Oh, you mean give up money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to give their vacation days up or sick days for, you know, been off with COVID. They might decide they just want to do workers' comp. Can they do that?
Okay. I don't think they can if they have leave in their account, leave balance in their account.
I say if they have sick leave,
You can use vacation time, sick time.
Yeah.
You can only use it for sick and
A lot of people, that's all they've got usually is, a lot of places usually got vacation time. You don't have sick time. So, I don't know, I just thought, I know it contains to the county. It's the way the county is, so it's just a question.
Is that basically just an information exchange for us, Shannon, that we
Right.
are employees are eligible for workman's compensation?
Yes,
You know, if they don't
just an
have wages.
information.
Well, if I could, what is is this our discussion about whether we're going to extend this? Or has that discussion already been had as far as making available, even through county funds, some COVID sick time? I guess my concern is people not appropriately reporting. You know, I know it's always subject to abuse, and I get that and understand that, but also don't want to penalize anybody that, you know, we want them to do the right thing and acknowledge if they're a close contact or they've been exposed and or they're positive. You know, we don't want those people coming to work. And so I hate to see people get punished because they're doing the appropriate thing that's required by the health department and everybody else under these current circumstances during a pandemic. So I guess.
How do we punish them? I'm interested in seeing how you do that, because if they have sick leave and they know they're sick and they've been exposed, or they think you're whatever, they're going to take sick and not come to work. If they don't have sick leave accrued because they're a new employee, then we authorize the workman's comp insurance to pay 2/3 of their ability to stay off without having earned the sick leave. How are we punishing the employee?
Well, I guess 2/3 is significant for some people to not have a third of their
It's
pay is
actually,
significant.
Zero, unless we do something else, just give them time.
the 2/3
Right.
because they don't take taxes out, so it actually pretty much equals their net pay anyway.
But wouldn't those
Okay.
taxes be due at the end of the year? I believe
I
that's
would-
correct.
I would think so.
So they don't come out whole.
I'm not sure we can make it a perfect world, guys. We're trying to do something that at least address the issue that the employees who have not been here long enough to earn sick leave to take the time off can do it. But they have to give up something if they don't have the sick leave. And I don't know, it's either 2/3 or nothing. Because you
Judge,
can't
can
give
I-
them,
Sorry.
you want to donate sick leave out of the pool? I don't think you can do that legally.
We don't,
You can donate annual leave, but you can't donate sick.
right.
Judge, do you mind if I speak real quick?
Go ahead.
The thing I'm concerned about is what Jamie may have touched on just a little bit. If I have an employee that's on probation that can't use their sick or vacation time, what my worry is that they know they're not going to get their full check. They're not going to report it. They're going to work when they're sick, and they're going to shut a whole EMS service down. So I don't know. I mean, I realize it's not a perfect world. I appreciate that the court's even considering this at all, because it really is. It helps us and definitely affects us, and as far in the jail too, and even the sheriff's department. But that's what I worry about. If they know that they're only going to get 2/3 or they don't report it, and they'll continue to work through that illness because they're going to worry that it'll impact the family.
Give me an alternative. Give me an alternative that I've not heard.
We're asking to go and take care of sick people. Health.
Mike, wait a minute. Mike, stop.
Yes, sir.
We can't understand you. There's
Oh.
a breakup in the transmission.
I'm sorry. I was saying, if we're asking providers to essentially risk their life because they're going to take care of patients that are known sick in high risk environments where we're aerosolizing COVID-19, if they was to come down with it, we just pay them like they're at work, because I just think it's the right thing to do. I don't know if it's possible, but
Yeah, and Mike, I appreciate you jumping in there, because I can check and see how we're doing it at center, because I think I mentioned this before. Like in particular, our facilities management people, and they in a lot of ways are frontline people. They're cleaning the dorms, they're in the dorms, they're around our students, and they're fearful that if they report that they will lose their job, and if they don't, so we don't have a way to pay them, then they're going to, it's just a bad situation. And I can see how we're handling it, but I do think we need to have a good answer for people that do get sick based on doing their job, and we're expecting them to stay away because it's what's required as we prevent the spread moving forward. And the good news is the quarantine time in particular has been reduced. And so we do have, it's no longer a 14-day period. You can test at day 5 if you're asymptomatic and be out of quarantine at day 7. So in theory, you could just miss 3, 4, depending on how the days fall, you could only be out of work for, 3 or 4 days based on your general work schedule. But I do think we need to do a little more exploring on this issue.
We really do. Magistrate Ellis here, because I just got a note from Deputy Jailer Chad Alderman that they have to stay off 14 days by state regs from the jail, and it may be the same for EMS. I do not know, Mike. But if we do anything for one classification or division of employee, and this is where the judge is resisting this, and I respect why he's doing it, because we cannot selectively go to EMS and the jail if somebody is working as a clerk in the offices in the courthouse or anywhere else that they on animal control. I think this is a very big issue financially with 170 some employees, all vulnerable in one form or another to COVID. So I think we're going to have to come back to this one.
Now, on your point, Tom, it is 14 days if it's a congregate setting, which a jail is. So that they're at a different standard than others are. So you're absolutely right on that point. So I think, if nothing else, we need to document, obviously, as I'm sure we're doing. And if we have to take this out of our emergency funds, and then hopefully we can get some state and or federal money, some more money at some point in time, I don't know, but that can make us whole down the road.
Julie, do you have something you want to say? No? Okay.
There's some places, there's some factories in Danville, if you're off with COVID, you've got to draw unemployment. So, that's another option too. If we don't furnish them some way of pay, then either they're 6 days or they could go draw unemployment.
If you all want me to, I'll query either CAECO or the Kentucky Department of Labor, how we can pay somebody, an excellent employee whom I love and cherish each one of them, who's new, that we can pay them without for them not to work.
There's one alternative we have not discussed, and it's very common in corporate life, and many of us in the past with crises like this have given our vacation days, given our other hours to someone in the circumstances where they might lose 5 or 10 or 14 paid days. And I think if Shannon is still on with us, I think that's within our ability to do that. Am I correct, Shannon?
It is. If employees want to donate vacation time, they can. It is in the policy that they can do that.
I think you're only allowed 2 a year per person.
Oh, I don't know that there's.
It is.
I wouldn't think there'd be any limitation.
There is to the school.
Well, we're not the school.
Our policy doesn't have any limitations on it. It just has to be vacation time.
Thank you, Shannon.
Now that's a possibility. That's a possibility, and I'm good with that. If the employee would like to donate time, they're free to do that, and that has happened in the past on occasion, recently. So we can make those opportunities known to the entire employment base and see if anybody wants to do that on a voluntary basis. But if you'd like for me to talk to the Kentucky Department of Labor I'd be glad to do that, see how we can address this concern and this issue, because it's legitimate.
Judge, is it legitimate also to discuss with some of the other county judges as to what?
Rick Ornstein, see what he got to say.
Yeah, I will. I'll explore it with KCO, KCJEA, and Rich Ornstein to see, try to get the best input information we can get to address it. I hear you, Mike and Jamie. I agree. But I don't know how to do that, but maybe they've got a way that I haven't thought about.
And they need to be paid, but we got to do it legally.
But for right now, we can do employee donation voluntarily of annual leave to help compensate sick time off for those who don't have it. That's one. And we can also, they don't have it, if they're willing, they have the opportunity to go workman's comp insurance to be paid 2/3 with no taxes coming out. So I will explore those other opportunities and report to you at the next court session.
Judge, this is pretty important. If we need to have a special session.
And if we need to have a special session to present the information, we'll do that too.
If this
People
includes-
need to know.
Yeah, he needs to be
They
paid, yeah.
want to know.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Anything else on this?
Thank you. I appreciate the court for being so willing to support the employees. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, Shane. Is that it?
That's it.
Manager Kaywood has a question.
Chad? Where are you?
Top right.
Oh, I see you now. I'm sorry. Keep moving.
You're moving around the screen on us.
A question that I talked to EMS about this morning in our committee meeting. OSHA says we have the responsibility to provide a safe working environment for our employees. What is our responsibility and potential liability? What would it explain we did not provide a safe working environment? I know it's way out there, but it's out there. So you might check with,
I'll add that to my questions of my contacts.
okay, and you might check with the people who give us an answer so that we know as a court what our liabilities are.
I think Keiko, Rich, and Department of Labor, where OSHA resides, will be a great place to get that information.
Thank you.
Okay.
Moving right along.
All right, next thank you, Shannon. We have Mr. Rusty Cox. There you are, Rusty. Talk to us about your end report and how much money you gonna bring to the county from FEMA?
Well, okay. I'm not gonna go line by line through the report. Did everybody get a copy of that?
Yeah.
We got it. Looking at it.
I try to present it on paper to where you can easily see the important things.
Good.
And the key is we actually made $728.12 more than last year. 4 less permits though. We made a total this year, if you include the contractor's licenses, of $77,139.74. I think that's amazing given the pandemic and the cost of building materials these days. I think it's amazing that we've done just on par as we did last year. So I'll entertain any questions if you have any.
Anybody got any questions about it? Good
No
information. Good information. Anybody got any questions?
Good report, Rusty.
Good report, Rusty. Thank you.
And on the FEMA part, we're working on it.
FEMA filing.
Yeah, as soon as I get the CARES information, we will submit that first because that's number one. They want to know what we've spent and how it's been spent. And I've got all the other documentation. Most of it is in the computer in electronic form that I can just send into the FEMA portal. But the first thing is we have to answer all the CARES questions, and I know we just got some more money in, so that kind of pushed it back a little bit, but it's all good. I think it's all good.
Well, one area that we have not explored through the CARES Act that we need to explore through FEMA for sure is the jail. And their
Okay.
expenditure on PPE and leave in lieu of employees being off on time and some
Right.
other things, overtime. Those are all purely COVID-19 related.
Right.
And they, some significance to them. So we need to work those jail issues into your filing for FEMA, in my opinion.
It will be done.
Rusty, double check your email. I sent you all the carriers information yesterday.
You got it
Okay.
yesterday in email.
Okay,
All
I'll
right.
check that. I'll certainly take care of that. Thank you all.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Rusty? All right, thank you, Rusty. You have a great day.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Good report. Miss Julie.
All right, before I get into what's on the agenda, I have a couple items I need to bring up in new business, okay? We wrote a letter to Governor Bashir that was under the signature of the judge and the mayor. It's in your packet. This came as a result of raising alarm in the community that the statistics are not matching local versus state. So I know we've had several conversations with Brent Levins. He's tried to get the information updated at the state because it is giving the public a sense of distrust as to how bad the numbers are here or that they're not that bad. It goes both ways. So letter requesting that the governor please resolve this. And I think as the public explores that they're finding that the numbers aren't matching for any county. So I just want to make you aware that we are aware that the public is alarmed. And it also goes without saying that we have no jurisdiction or right to interfere in what the health department's doing locally. That's a state agency. It is not part of fiscal court. And there's been a lot of finger pointing that we're not doing enough. We are not the health department. We are privy to the numbers. And yes, it is alarming, but we can only do with what we're given. So we know there's a problem and we've addressed it through a letter. But it is very difficult right now to get accurate information out to the public. And I think we all need to know that that's what we're dealing with.
For those of you who aren't aware, the judge and Mayor Paris and some of us have gotten a lot of phone calls with grave concerns about COVID cases, their ages, et cetera. And I just want to commend the judge and Mayor Paris for taking this action because interest groups in the community have even put letters in the newspaper about this. And I would encourage, since the Advocate Messenger is on board with us today, I would encourage them to publish this letter that the judge and the mayor have sent out.
All right.
Yeah, our only vehicle for getting information out right now is our website and the local media. We don't have a lot of ways to share with the public what we're doing. And I think there is a breakdown because we don't have a lot of different ways to reach people. We do not have a social media presence. We only have local press and things like writing this letter and posting it on our
And
website.
our county website.
And if I could, I want to
Go ahead.
thank the judge and the mayor for this letter. I do think it is frustrating and confusing to our citizens when, you know, the numbers don't match up. And again, through social media and other things, word travels fast when we have our, we've lost way too many local citizens and we do it. And I know we've all continued to emphasize this, but, we've got to continue our mask wearing, our distancing, all the things we know will help in this effort. And that's important that we continue. So we've got to continue to work hard. I want to continue to encourage people. One of the numbers, and it is on I'm hoping it's accurate. I don't know how accurate it is, but on Kentucky state page, one of the areas that really is I keep saying when push comes to shove is our hospital capacity. And I do like the way that they've broken the hospital capacity down in regional hospital areas, if you will, through the state. And the good news is our area in central Kentucky is still staying pretty good. I mean, it's, there's obviously issues and concerns, but overall, our regional hospital capacity is doing fairly well. It doesn't mean we don't have a lot of work to do, and there's some significant issues in other parts of the state. But in central Kentucky, we're in with Lexington, and that capacity is holding pretty well at this point in time. And that's an important number, because to me, that's when push really comes to shove in your region. So again, I keep wanting to remind everybody that if we'll all wear our mask, we can continue to function, and our businesses can function. We can continue to do things while we're wearing our masks. We can get our schools open and back in business, and all those things we want to see happen. But we've all got to do the mask wearing, social distancing, on and on and on. We all know the drill.
Okay, appreciate that, Magistrate Gay.
Well,
Julie,
General,
go ahead.
I was going to mention this during new business, but I can mention it now because Julie touched on it. I really would like to see, and Julie and I have discussed this, and I think I've discussed it with Jamie. We really do need to have a social media presence. I mentioned this at the very beginning of my term, and it sounds like Julie would be willing to take that role on. So I don't know if you want me to save it for new business, or we can do it now, but I would love for the court to go ahead and give her the blessing.
Okay, let's save it for new business. I'm in agreement to hear that discussion.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Julie, what's next? We've already discussed the sick pay memo.
And the rest of what I have is just stuff we can cover in new business, if that's all right.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Okay. Keegan Hinkle, our county treasurer.
Circulating around the November finances for y'all. As always, if you have any questions, you can come by my office with me. The only other thing I have is there's a finance committee meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. That's all I got.
And that'll be here,
Yes, sir.
finance committee meeting 9 a.m. tomorrow here. All right. Now, that completes our consent calendar for the day. Let's go to new business, and we'll go around the room here. Magistrate Sammons, what do you got?
I don't have any.
All right, well, thank you for that. Magistrate Campbell, I know you probably got some.
I'm not, I gave John my,
Your
Can I
proxy?
get your time? Yes, I've got several.
get him like, Judge. Now, we don't hear it, we'll leave.
Anything new on the kennel issue? Y'all will remember the attorney said, I think everybody got the city ordinance. And I hope you had a chance to go by and visit. I know Phil did, because we met out there. We understand that, in my mind, we need to do something.
I've been even at night, to see the light, what the lights are. Okay.
I think it needs to be improved. I think we have a lot of folks who absolutely, based on correspondence I've gotten, are concerned, and rightfully so. And I don't want it to get off the table, so if anybody's got any new thoughts, I'm open to hearing.
I sent out, did everybody get an email with some recommendation language about kennel regulations? Phil responded to it. Did everybody else get that?
That was on that you could eliminate this to
Just some guidelines I found.
eliminate other animals, is that?
Yes.
For
Everybody-
consideration.
Is that in the vein of what you're looking for in terms of nuisance?
That would be,
A good
now
start.
here's something that I forgot about. Judge, you were in on that meeting. I went back and read some notes, and I won't say where they came from. But this person went back and said that he had met with Ron Scott when Ron was city manager. And then Ron advised that the city and county does have an agreement, noise from the county disrupts the city, there could be a sighting. And this is what we have. We have a noise that's coming out of county who is affecting the city.
That's in the city limits, so.
No,
No,
Oh, you know.
now,
no.
this, Chris is not here, so I don't, but I forgot about that, but that was in, these look familiar?
Yeah.
You know where they came from? I don't know, but when I went back, I thought maybe that's a part of this discussion.
I'll look into that.
Would you,
Yeah, I would suspect you'll have a draft ordinance by the next meeting of just some loose language that I think is
Worth to talk about.
pushing it forward. Vein of what you were thinking before I put a lot of time, and it sounds like it is. Okay.
let's just keep moving forward on it, that's all I ask. There was a really interesting article in County Land that Mike Harmon, if I'd see it, it had to do with the ethics committee.
Okay.
And it made me think, because Mike talked about those counties that really are not doing it the way it's supposed to be. And my thought said, are we doing it the way that it's supposed to be?
That's so funny. Chris Heron sent me some ethics language.
working on that.
Yeah, he wants me to,
Easy, because we do have this.
yes,
Well,
that's,
and,
yeah.
and I just, it's kind of a double check. Are we doing it
No, Chris says.
We're not doing all we should be
right?
doing.
Okay, well.
So that will be coming before you in the next probably 30
Okay,
days.
so we're working on
45
it.
days.
Okay.
We're working on that.
You all are ahead of me.
Yes. Yay.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Watching the news and what went on in Washington last week with the Capitol. I thought, are we prepared to handle if something like that happened here locally? Because we could say it could never happen here. I would say to you, it could happen here. The sheriff's department is responsible for the protection of this building and those in it. Do we have a plan? If we don't have a plan, I think we could be moving toward a plan. I've talked about it before. We don't have active shooters in schools like we did before when this subject was one that was on everybody's mind. It's not on people's minds now as much because I don't know that we've had that kind of situation fortunately. But handle schools though. But it could always happen. Are we prepared? Because I don't want to look back and say, we could have done something about it. I like y'all's thoughts about whether we need to do something. And I know we're working on a phone system, and that's part of the issue. Now, we're working on that. I understand. But do our employees, we have the responsibility, I'm gonna go back to what I said, taking the vaccine and providing a safe working environment. Our employees should expect us to have a plan, in my opinion. Do they know what to do if we have a situation? Let's hope we never, ever have to go through it. But it's better, you ever heard this? It's better to be prepared for the worst and hope for the best. You ever heard that?
yeah.
That's been ingrained in some of us. I think that's the system. To me, it's what we do. Our responsibility is to be prepared, be ahead.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
There's a level of that preparedness that does not need to be made public, so that is not encroached on unnecessarily. But we need, we do have preparedness things in place that not everybody needs to know, and that's a good thing, but we can still improve on some of those aspects.
Let's keep that in our mind, and let's move that going forward too. I don't want to say, well, we just didn't accomplish it. So our job is to get it done. I need a little help, and maybe Julie, you can research and do this and get with it. I'm not concerned, I just don't understand it. As long as I've been doing this, I think I understand. The relationship and the structure of the Humane Society, which is great people, do great work. We do some hiring, they have a board, and where the interplay comes in, I'm not real sure of how that works. And I said something to Phil, and I don't think Phil is now. It has a total picture on it. I don't. I would like some
We
information.
spent a lot in the last 2 or 3 weeks
Have you?
on that issue.
You ahead of me again on this
I'm
stuff.
just shocked that you're bringing this up. No, we are aware that there needs to be some clarification.
Is it
I am
because,
totally- Yeah, Judge and I.
Ron and I've talked about this, we do the hiring, but we don't own the building.
No, we don't.
And we don't set policy.
We don't.
Right.
Not for the building.
Yeah.
Not for the bill. And I just want to get a feel, and I don't know, you haven't been with us that long, but you may not have a real clear picture of how that, and for new people, I understand it, but we're involved. so we need to have that picture.
we are, but that's all we do.
Well, we need to clear that up, and we've learned a lot in the last couple of weeks. Some issues that are not right out there on the radar screen in big blips that are somewhat things that we need to collectively talk about and decide what we want out of them, because the public thinks that building is the county. It's not.
Then it's not.
It's not. And we need to clarify that.
Conversely, they think our employees are the Humane Society.
Yeah, they do. They do.
And so there is some cleaning up that needs to take place that we just learned about last week.
Okay, so we're.
Yes. So,
We made some headway last week.
Y'all doing a great job of getting the
well,
picture.
we're,
Last, but very important. We, the city was very generous with a Christmas. And we should acknowledge it. And I hope we can, and maybe this is simply as a thank you note, a thank you card to the city commission. I don't know how we want to say thank you.
what do we do?
They presented us with a nice little gesture of Christmas spirit.
Yes, and we need to acknowledge.
We will do so.
As a group, I think as a group, is my thought.
I think what I would like to do is by the end of the week, every magistrate after tomorrow, come by and sign a thank you letter so they know that everybody has their skin in the game and appreciates
I
it.
think that's an appropriate thing. Yeah, because we talked about good relations already, and this is a.
But I'd like for everybody on the court to sign that.
And I agree, but
Since we're all gonna be back up here tomorrow, 3,
We can do it tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
if you get the card stuff,
We can do it.
Oh, we got cards.
We can do it.
we can go ahead and sign.
thank you, sir.
Thank you. I thought it was like, it's tough to say in of it.
First, my member, what we got, 3.
A flag raising ceremony at Constitution Square. Yes.
We're gonna beat that out.
Yeah.
Down there.
Beat that.
Deep down there. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
Meet at Constitution Square, a little bit before 3 for tomorrow. Okay. Good. Well, short,
I don't have anything.
go ahead. All right. Thank you. All right. Jason, we'll go to you first.
All right. First, so I'll pick up where I left off. If pleases my fellow magistrates, and if Julie's still willing to take on the task, I would like to see about having our social media presence out there, so that way we can inform the public of the various things that we all do and that this county does for them for their tax dollars. So
Are we talking about Facebook or what?
we're talking about, I don't think we need to specify which one. I think we just need to say social media presence. Yeah, I mean, Facebook, I guess Twitter, whatever we feel relevant at the time. If something else pops up that we need to utilize, then we'll utilize that. But I just think that we need to do a better job communicating with the citizens, and the newspaper doesn't come out frequent enough. And I don't know if people pay attention to it as much as they do their social media platforms. So I would like to see about, one, thanking Julie for wanting to take this on, and two, go ahead and put it out there to see what everyone thinks.
No, I agree. Yeah, I'm in favor of that as well.
I'll entertain a motion to, if you want a motion for the fiscal court or the county government to have a social media presence and leave it up to Julie and staff here to determine what that is and report back to you, we can do that.
That would be wonderful.
Is that a motion that you're making?
That is correct, sir. I'll make that motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
I'll second it.
Matters a short one.
No measure.
Sammons.
Salmon.
He's Sammons.
Short. Usually the one, so it's Salmon's at one. But anyway, I gotta have a little levity here. All right. Any discussion on the motion to develop a social media presence by the county? Now's the time. If not, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand or saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. That, it's unanimous, so there's no need for opposing vote. So, all right, next.
All right. The other thing I had was had a good conversation with the sheriff's office yesterday, and he had talked about expanding offices up in that area, and I wanted to see where we were at with that. Chris Stratton has his office, but then there's the front office there, and then the court designated worker that has the other office that hasn't been there since March. So any chance we could get the sheriff in office, and also Sam for our things that we have going on?
There's a chance.
Okay.
And I have talked with AOC and Judge Pepler and Courtney Shoemaker, and I'm in the process of wanting to establish a dialogue with the court designated worker and to see if we can work something out.
Great.
That is an AOC leased piece of real estate, and I'm trying to do that as we speak.
Okay. Well, AOC leased mean they'd actually pay a good fair market value for that piece, but anyway,
They're
no, they're not even close. Business license. Again, I think business license in the county would also take care of a big problem that we have that you guys have mentioned with kennel and several other things going on. Are we anywhere on anything with that? I mean, I know Chris isn't around, but Julie, have you and Chris had any conversations or?
Yes, we have. Again, you'll probably have something at the next meeting.
to consider.
At least get that moving forward. Also, I have on my desk a thick stack to go out this week of contractor licenses. And that's sort of going to be my test of how this would work, of sending out the information to the potential contractors and then come back and pay in our office. So we're going to use that as our sort of model for getting this set up and see how it works.
Okay.
So happening.
Thank you for that, Julian. And I know that you and the rest of the office there are taking on a big chunk of trying to collect money that may have not been collected prior. So we appreciate the effort from all. So
The court support of our endeavors is working. I can say that.
good. Smoke-free license. Have we gotten anywhere with that at all?
That's not
I
been
guess
on
that-
my radar.
Okay. All right. I'll talk with Chris more about that. And then I had one thing that I just wanted clarification on. I've had some conversations with planning and zoning, and this was just kind of brought up. It was not a complaint on Steve Hunter's part. It was just something that I had heard, and I wanted to make sure that we're taking care of things properly. His check request came, looks like he got his check at the very last possible day. Even though I know Steve is usually pretty prompt in sending stuff in and getting us everything we need. Is there a reason why his check of anyone else's was delayed to getting to him? Do we know an answer on that, sir?
I believe we do. Keegan, would you like to address that as it relates to planning and zoning specifically?
I mean, we were just waiting on him to get in his report from
We didn't get his report.
the previous year, and between him and EDP were the last two to get their reports in. And I actually, Steve said in the past, the check had gotten lost in the mail and stuff of that matter. So I personally walked down there twice and Steve was not in office. And then he got his check on the last day because he came up here and got it.
Okay, all right. So everybody was still held to the same standard that if they didn't have their report in right, then their check was delayed. I know you said EDP, but like Main Street Parable, all those others that we gave money to this year, the checks were all, I mean, everything was handled the same way, right?
Yes, sir. As soon as the report was in, the check was written.
Wonderful. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. That now I can go to bed and sleep easy. Thank you.
Does that mean you're
That's all.
done?
That is all I have.
All right. Magistrate Gay, you're on.
Thank you. I just wanted to, Magistrate Kaywood mentioned this, but I just want to speak to the attack on our Capitol and our democracy that occurred on January 6th. And that truly was a sad day in American history. And I hope that we never, ever see that repeated again. I agree with him on the fact that we need to be prepared in our own house, but hopefully that will never happen. And we all just need to pray that peace will reign and that those responsible will be held accountable for that attack.
I agree. Is that it? It is.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Manzanella's.
Thank you, Judge. I'd just like to say for the record that we most appreciate, we've been talking about cooperation and collaboration. We most appreciate CSX spending several $1,000s to take care of a problem that we had out here, that it could have had some very serious consequences had they not put that fence up. So I just wanted to compliment them for that. Number two, and the judge might be able to help us on this, I've had inquiries from folks in Perryville, including members of the city council there, about the status of the Crawford House. I know there's progress being made, and then I'll loop back to that, Judge, with you. And number three, I'd like to not only congratulate the judge and the mayor, but Julie for helping coordinate that letter that went out to give the community an idea of what we're doing, and the governor's office, what we're doing here in COVID and how we need the data to be correct. And I got a note just about 10 minutes ago from Robin Hart, and it will be in the next edition of the Advocate Messengers. It's already gone to print. That's all, Judge.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that, Don. Is that it?
Yeah, anything on the Crawford House?
There is. It's all I can say is I am somewhat dismayed at the length of this process. What has happened with the Crawford House so far? We had a meeting last week, not in person. It was on the internet with the state parks department, the state finance cabinet, and between the county attorney and myself. And I'm trying to think, were you there in that meeting? But anyway, we had a meeting. We discussed where it was. The surveys have been done. We had a plan of moving forward to making sure that there are no restrictions on land and water historical leases in that, and that the deed of correction is going to address certain things, including the Crawford Lane going back down to the spring and these kinds of things. We made a lot of headway, and we set a suspense date of getting real close to conclusion by meeting, I forget the exact date, in the middle of February before the second court session. So positive things from the state finance cabinet and parks department to tell the court about it moving forward and moving forward toward disposition of sale or whatever by the state shortly. We're working feverishly against the clock, so to speak, to get that done.
Great. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. We'll hopefully report on that the second court session, if not before, but in February. So, I don't have anything else. Julie has something?
I have a couple things. First and most probably important, is last night at the Danville City Commission meeting, which I'm a geek, I was watching online. There were some logs that were salvaged from a building on 3rd Street that pretty much dated back to one of the original dwellings built here in Boyle County. And those logs have been stored at the city garage since I guess that was probably 15 years. Okay. Yes. So the fiscal court put some money in those logs, and I believe, if I remember correctly, it was $7,500. The list that was held by Heart of Danville has since been destroyed. The city needs to get rid of those logs, and they're willing to go to court to get a declaration of ownership of who those logs belong to. What I would like to do is propose that we look and see if they can be used at Constitution Square for anything before they're destroyed or sold off to a private individual. I don't know if this is something you're interested in getting involved in, but I do think we should at least talk about those logs.
It's not a private individual involved in ownership of those logs.
Well, Stephen Dexter says maybe not.
Really?
Yeah, he's ready and willing to go to court and let court determine what happens to the logs because so many people put money into saving them. They are a community-owned asset. I would hate to see them leave if you think they could be used at the park. I don't know. Is this something I should spend my time on? That's what I'm asking.
Julie, as an assignee of the court to Constitution Square, along with Magistrate Cullen and a preservationist, I would very much like to be involved in that.
Okay, I have sort of a tentative conversation set up with the mayor today. He wanted to talk to me about these logs. So before I did that, I just wanted to see what you all thought.
I'm in.
Does these logs have anything?
Yes.
They're a big pile of logs, I will say that. I don't think we have room to store them anywhere. Unless we could get with Duane and see, but that's the city's problem, is they've been stored in the garage.
They've been down there for a long
Oh,
time.
at least 15 years, at least.
Some big logs in that,
Yes.
in that building.
If you think it's not worth, because if we express interest, we're gonna have to take them, ownership of them for the park, and I don't know, I just don't know enough.
What would we do with them?
That's the grand question, I think, that's been out there all along, is we have these historic logs. What do we do with
Well,
them?
we didn't at the time, we didn't want them destroyed, right, John?
I would like to talk to some of my folks in West Boyle County because they too are preservationists. And if there's no one else who would have them, and if we can get them donated out in my district, I'm confident that there would be someone who would want them and perhaps be willing to pick them up and store them. I can't speak for them, but I will make contacts.
We gotta find out who owns them first.
Well, right now, they're in the holding conservatorship of the city of Danville.
I understand.
They were ready to vote last night, but they tabled the vote until we could have a conversation, so.
Fine with him being in the meeting with you and the
Okay.
mayor. If it's okay, you know, I think, fine, if you're interested, what time and where?
I don't know yet. It's just kind of,
She'll let you know,
we're gonna circle around today.
okay?
You have to send them to the store.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really have to.
Somebody
That's
that's
the lowest part, and that's the lowest thing.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Right.
The barn builder, you come and get a problem.
Julie, I'll be there if you need me, if you'll tell me the time.
Okay. The second thing,
I'll think somebody wants them.
a couple house cleaning things. We're getting, Ann is just really struggling with getting agenda items in time and on a schedule. So I'd like to propose that we have a cutoff time of Thursday before the court meeting at the end of the business day to submit anything for the agenda. It's too hard for you to get the information, too hard for us to get a complete agenda. Now, there are going to be emergencies, but for the general well-being of everybody, I feel like we need to have a cutoff at the end of the day, Thursday, the meeting.
Say no more. I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded and by Magistrate Cullen and Short. So any discussion? I think that's very appropriate and reasonable. Raise your right hand and all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries. Thank you.
I have a meeting tomorrow with Jamie Payton, the new director of the Tourism Convention and Visitors Bureau, just to try to build a good relationship with us, and I think that's positive. She reached out to me. I sent the first round of collections to the county attorney this morning. We turned over $8,136.02 over to the county, and these are small, minor little things. So our new system is working. I've got about 20,000 still outstanding in these two binders that go to the next level. So I just want you to know that the system is working. We've got it going, so that's positive. Yeah.
We got some big ones working, but we're not gonna mention names of them.
Right. We'll never mention names, but just so you know, there are some big ones probably in the next 2 weeks. And finally, it is time for us to send out our appropriation letters to the agencies. I had tweaked those and added some information that we would like to receive from these applicants, such as your bank balance, how much money are you holding in reserve? If you're going to use taxpayer money, we want to make sure that you need it, because somebody else might need it more, and minutes of board meetings and things like that. So
You said minutes of board meeting and the list of who's on
board
the.
members. I pretty much took what we have and what Mercer County does and merged the two together.
It's a multiplier effect, and I think it's very useful and needed.
Yeah.
I don't think we need a motion, it's administrative.
Just an info thing, in case somebody complains to you that they're having to give more information, because we really want to get an idea of where our taxpayer money is going. So
I make a
that's all I
motion to
have.
adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Boy, especially now for like before, what had this happened? All those in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion, we stand adjourned.
Hey, Judge, Phil got in real quick, but would
Wait a minute, Jason. What?
I had this written down, and Julie mentioned it. Could we get an invite to invite our new CVB